Hello, how's it going? I'm here with a quick math lesson for today's first lesson in chapter 2. So, um, here's what's going to happen. You are going to be working a little bit on what's called comparing numbers. Now, that might sound a little confusing, but I think you can do it. Okay, when we are comparing numbers, all you're doing is you're going to be looking at two different sets. You're going to be counting them, and then you're just going to be telling me a few things about them. I think this will be easier for you to understand if you let me show it to you first, and then Mr. Mouse will show it to you next. So if you look on my whiteboard here, I have two sets of stars. I have green stars, and I have red stars, okay? And up here, I wrote the word same. Can you say same? Good. Today's lesson is going to be about comparing numbers from sets that are the same. And KB, I think this is the easiest lesson in the chapter. Okay, this is not very hard for you to do as long as you can count and as long as you know your numbers. So what I'm going to do is first, I'm always going to start with my first set, which is my green stars, and I'm going to count them. 1, 2, 3. Just to help me, I'm going to take a second to write the number 3 underneath my green stars so that we can all see that I have 3. Okay. Then I'm going to look at my red stars, and I'm going to count 1, 2, 3. And I'll do the same thing where I write my 3 underneath just to be sure. So when I check out my sets now, I'm showing that I have 3 green and 3 red. Because they both have 3, 3 and 3, these sets are the same. They are the same number, 3 and 3. Okay? They're equal sets. Now, you're going to be doing this a little bit on your own, but before we do that, let's go ahead and check in with Mr. Mouse, see how he's doing.
Hi there! Have you seen the pretty flowers growing here? It looks like someone planted them in rows. How many flowers are in a row? Click this flower and we'll count them.
Okay, so we have some purple flowers and we have some yellow flowers. Let's see what happens.
1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 purple flowers. Wow! Now, look at these yellow flowers. I wonder if the number of yellow flowers is the same as the number of purple flowers. But how do we know if there is the same number of flowers? Let's go find out about sets that show the same number.
Okay, so just like Mr. Mouse did, he's talking about the same things that I show you. When we have two different sets, like our purple flowers are different than our yellow flowers, we can count them both to see how many they are, and then we can decide if they're more or less or the same number.
Jill wants to count how many apples she has. She uses red counters to model her apples. Let's count them. Click the first counter to start.
Okay, so Jill has some red apples. She's going to use a 5 frame and counters to show how many she has to keep them nice and neat and organized.
1, 2. Jill has 2 counters. Aaron uses yellow counters to model his apples. How many apples does he have? Let's count them to be sure.
So Aaron has his own apples, and he's going to use yellow counters to show that his are different than Jill's.
1, 2. Are there any more counters? No. So Aaron has 2 counters. Now compare Jill's counters with Aaron's counters. You can use lines to match the counters. Select the counters to match them. Does each counter have a match? Yes. So Jill and Aaron have the same number of counters.
Okay, so check this out. Notice how they drew a line to make matches. Okay? If there's a line going to each one and then we run out of counters for both people, we can see that they have the same. Okay, if there was a red counter right here with a line going down to nothing, you would know that there was no match for this red counter and Jill would have more. But for today, remember that word we're using is the same. You can see it right up here, same number. One red apple matches to a yellow apple, another has a match. They have the same number.
Here's a set of books. Let's count the books.
All right, we've got some books. Let's count them out.
1, 2, 3, 4. Select the number that shows how many books you counted.
Okay, so we counted 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Is this 4? No, we don't want to pick this. This is the number 3. We all know our number 4, which is right here.
That's right. There are 4 books. Now count the apples.
Let's look at the apples and count them.
1, 2, 3, 4. How many apples did you count?
Okay, which one of these choices is 4? It's the same for our yellow books. And I'm going to pick the same number that we picked, which was 4.
Yes, that's right. There are 4 apples. Now let's compare the sets. Are there the same number of objects in each set? How can you tell? Select each book to match it to an apple.
Okay, so we can already kind of see here how they match up, and we know we picked 4 and 4, which is the same. But watch how we can draw a line to make matches to really be sure that they're the same. This is going to help us when we start getting into bigger numbers, for sure. Here's one match, another match, another match, and another match.
Good job! Each book matches each apple. There are 4 books and 4 apples. The sets have the same number of objects. Now let's practice with the personal math trainer.
Okay, you did a great job comparing sets that have the same number. You're going to be doing this in your book a little bit, and I think you're going to do a great job. Remember, when we do this, you're counting, you're thinking about the number, and then you're seeing if the sets match, just like we did with the books and the apples at the end. Okay, great job.